Alright, before I get into the tutorials this week on new material, I wanted to touch back on expressions. It looked like the expressions gave some of you a fit. A lot of you did really well, but I just want to do a quick review just because some people had some questions. So expressions ties one attribute to another, and the attribute can be tied to a function or another attribute of the same object or a different object. So for example, I created a sphere. I opened the expression editor, and in my translate y, which is up and down, I'm going to give it a little expressions. I'm just going to grab middle mouse drag this, and I'm going to say that's equal to the time function. I'm just going to say time. If I edit that, we're going to, when we play it, I give myself about 200 keyframes here. Alright, so I click the animation, and as time increases, the balloon goes up. Okay, straightforward enough. So time starts at frame 0, time is 0. At frame 24, time is 1. At frame 48, time is 2. Alright, you with me? Okay, so if we just, what some people said were they didn't understand what was happening if they did an if statement, a conditional, where they said if time is less than 2, do something, and then you say else. Okay, so we're just going to not do anything if time's less than 2, and we'll go ahead and say this: the translate y value is 0, so we start at the same place every time. Alright, so we do that. What's going to happen? Alright, so let's click back. Okay, it starts at 0. Alright. And as it goes in, it stays at 0 because we're in time 1. And once we get, okay, it's 1 second. Once we get to 48, we're going to hit 2 seconds. So why is it jumping here? It's going from 47 at 0 to, and it's jumping straight up, and it's going exactly to 2. Well, that's the value of time. So if this is tied exactly to time, once this takes effect after 2, it's going to jump 2 times. So to compensate, if we want it to start from the beginning, we need to say time minus whatever this value is where it was not moving. So subtract 2 and edit. Okay. And now it's going to stay still, and when it starts, it's going to start from 0. A lot of you got that, but what was difficult in this was for those of you who tried to do the rotate X. Let's go back here. Let's say we wanted to make the rotate X equal the sine of time, right? P sphere 1 dot time. Alright, so if we do that, we're going to get the same thing that happens before, because time now is going to be 2 when it starts. Now, where will 2 be in the sine function? In this case, it may be fine, but and we also need to go ahead and give us a default value here, so we always start off with the same thing here. So the rotate always starts at X, or the rotate X always starts at 0, and we're going to go ahead and give us a multiplier here. Edit, And now when we, oh, wrong button. Now when we play, let's see if we can make that any more visible. Alright. So what I'm looking at is right when it starts, see how it kicks over instead of starting in the exact same spot. Almost all of the animations from last week did that. So when they did start, they kicked sideways, and if there's any sort of elongation, it makes it more obvious. For example, this number. So now it pops sideways. So how can you prevent that? See how it's not a smooth transition. It's the same exact thing that was happening with the translate, but the rotate's not quite as noticeable, but it was, almost everyone had that problem. So what would you do? Well, you would do the exact same thing you did here. You would do sine over time minus 2, and you'd edit it, and now see what happens, and see how it doesn't pop when it lifts. See, when that rotation starts, it doesn't pop, and that's because time is moving, and by the time time goes into effect, it's already got a value of 2. So the sine of 2 is going to be some value that's going to make it pop. Now it's possible you could calculate the value where it would start at 0, but I just like to go ahead and say how long has time been going when this stuff down here takes into effect, and just subtract that amount. Okay, and you won't get the pop, and you won't get that leap right off the bat when it does go into effect. Most of you got the inflating pretty good, so I won't go over that, but that's the one thing, is that extra minus. And other than that, I think you all did well. But enough of you had trouble with it. I thought it would be a good idea to show you, so that you could see how you would get that, get rid of that popping into place on your animations. Well, that's it for now. In the next tutorial, I'm going to start with week 13 tutorials. This will be our last week of tutorials before we start our final project, and we're going to talk about blend modes this week. Pretty exciting stuff. We'll see you there.